NFL free agency is less than a week away. We will have live coverage of it for you. We'll be live during the legal tampering period once the new league year begins. All that stuff. We'll have winners and losers, top guys left. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Let's dive into the top 25 NFL free agents before things get going. We'll begin with a quarterback, Russell Wilson, number 25 here. The quarterback market, I'm intentionally bookending 25 and a higher number with QBs. I am very curious what Russ's market looks like. Is it the Raiders? Is it back to Pittsburgh? He was good in the middle part of the year and then kind of faded down the stretch. In general, this free agency class is not really that great, and you'll see it as we move along in the top 25. 24 is Cam Robinson, who the Vikings traded for midseason. He'll be a free agent. He'll probably get a decent chunk of change because even like average-ish starting offensive linemen don't always hit the open market. Dan Moore, another in Pittsburgh. Aaron Jones, I'll give him the nod over Rico Dowdle as the top running back. Jones is still really good. I don't know how much more he has left in the tank. I think you're kind of entering the pitch count area where maybe you don't want to give him 300 touches each season. But even with some slight declines in yards per carry, it's still well above average. A center class that is both light in the draft and free agency, Drew Dalman, checks in at 22. He's not going to be a fit for every scheme, but he's still a very good center and will be an instant starter for somebody out there in the open market, maybe even back to Atlanta. Number 21, Haason Reddick, the Jets edge rusher. Look, he tanked his value. There's no way around it. He went from getting double-digit sacks every single year, 4 years in a row. Only Myles Garrett had done that to one. And that's bad. So I would not be surprised if it's a one-year deal for Reddick. Try to reestablish his value, have a big season, and try to cash in again next year. But then age starts to very much become an issue. Now, at this point in the offseason, you guys probably have a good feel for what the overall free agency class looks like. I want you to grade this NFL free agency class. How do you feel about the overall quality of it? A, B, C, D, or F. It is the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Number 20, Tre'von Moehrig, the Raiders safety. I have always been a big fan of his game. I think he could get a bigger than expected contract in the open market. I think he is a very good free safety who saw his TFLs, who saw his tackles, who saw his pass breakups, his interceptions all rise. Well, not interceptions, but still. All rise beyond that from this season. And a big jumps over what it was early in his career. It's I think a pretty decent safety market in both free agency and the draft. A spot, though, that historically has been devalued by NFL teams. Number 19, Talanoa Hufanga, the safety out of San Francisco. I am a big fan of his game. Different safety than Moehrig. Like Hufanga's the run-stopping, strong safety type. Moehrig's more of the free safety, but both are very good. Carlton Davis, part of a long list of Lions players who got banged up this past season, was an addition from the Bucs. I think he's got one more real contract left on the tires, but he is a still starting caliber corner. And then another guy coming off injury, Dre Greenlaw. I am a huge fan. The Niners missed him. Now, he's great in coverage. He can pursue. He can find runs. He is a really good football player, and we saw that in 2022 and 2023. Unfortunately, he got hurt in the playoffs in 2023, barely played in 2024. So what his market looks like, I don't know. I think this is going to be one of the popular, maybe you get him cheap options. And then if everyone thinks that, he ends up not being the cheapest in the end. Who is your top NFL free agent on the open market this offseason? Drop that player name for me, or names, I guess, if you have multiple close together, in the comments of today's show. Someone who made a lot of money this past season is Zack Baun, the Eagles linebacker. In 2023, he had 30 tackles. He had 4 TFLs. He had 2 pass breakups. He had 1 interception. In fact, you can actually combine his production from 2021 to 2023, and it doesn't get to the level of production he had this past year. He had a massive breakout season. How much of that was because of the presence of the Eagles and Vic Fangio and everything else? But this was an unbelievable year for Zack Baun, who's going to cash in this offseason. His teammate, Milton Williams, number 15, the defensive tackle, will also cash in, with Osa Odigizua getting $20 million per year. That's the floor for Milton Williams. In fact, I think both those guys could have gotten more on the open market, and I bet Milton Williams will end up doing so. He has always benefited from being in a rotation, but free agency means teams get a little bit more money headed their way. Number 14, another guy that I don't really know what the market looks like, but I am a personal big fan of his game, Charvarius Ward, the cornerback from the 49ers, dealt with just unimaginable tragedy off the field this year. It sounds like he wants to not stay in San Francisco. Someone will be getting a very good starting corner, though. Number 13, Byron Murphy, also going to cash in this offseason. Signed a one-year deal with the Vikings coming over from Arizona. Finally looked the closest version of what I thought he was going to be coming out of Washington. The cornerback market has some solid players in it, and I think given how much teams always need corners, Murphy's going to cash in nicely this offseason. Remember, salary cap keeps going up. These contracts are going to be very, very expensive. Now you can get an NFL jersey for your favorite team today over at chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Rookie jerseys are available. Right now it currently sorts by the most popular. So there's a lot of Eagles ones in there for understandable reasons. A lot of Saquon ones up at the top there. But you can filter by your team. You can search for a player. Go to chatsports.com/NFL jersey to get your latest NFL jersey today. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Number 12 is Chase Young, who I kind of wonder what his market is really going to end up looking like in terms of, is he able to get a longer deal with more security and more guaranteed money coming off of a 5.5 sack season where he was better than he was really for a good portion of 2023? Or does he do the mercenary thing again? He's by the way, as weird as this sounds, Chase Young is still only 25 years old. He turns 26 in April, but he's still quite young. Now for some players who are not quite young, because most young guys don't get to the open market, as it turns out. DeAndre Hopkins. I think he can still help. Brutal drop in the Super Bowl notwithstanding. Hopkins is getting up there in age. I don't know how many more years his game truly has of being a good wide receiver, too. He turns 33 in June, but I think he can still be a productive piece for an NFL contender. Very curious what Stephon Diggs' market looks like. He'd be higher on this list if he wasn't coming off of a torn ACL. There are some diva tendencies. That's normally okay as long as you're producing. I don't think teams are going to view Diggs as a wide receiver 1, but maybe he can be a 1A with a 1B and a young player for somebody out there. Number 9 is Amari Cooper. I think at this point, Cooper is a 2. And if Diggs was healthy, not coming off injury, I'd put Diggs above Amari Cooper. The production dipped in Cleveland and Buffalo. The Cleveland dip was at least in part because of quarterback play. I also don't think you're going to get the consistent 1,000-yard receiver you had at his best in Cleveland and Raiders and with Dallas, but he can still have a team and still be a really good route runner and be a really good quarterback-friendly piece. Now, if you were in the market for a receiver, maybe your team's not, which receiver would you rather sign? DH for DeAndre Hopkins, AC for Amari Cooper, or SD for Stephon Diggs? Go vote in the comments section of today's show. Josh Sweat, who will turn 28 later in March, is already looking again for a third contract, actually. He signed one back in 2021. He's coming off a 8-sack season and a Super Bowl run as well. He has been a pretty consistent 6+, if not more, sack player over the last 5 years. That's got value in the open market. DJ Reed, always been a personal favorite of mine. I think is the top corner available in the open market this upcoming season. I think he could be a number 1 corner. I think he's going to get paid like a number 1 corner. I would not be surprised if he could say, oh, we got that much money, from whether it's the Jets or somebody else in the open market. Now, I'll make note. As of filming, Ronnie Stanley is currently set to be a free agent. I know there has been some rumors and reports of, maybe the Ravens bring him back. That would not be a surprise. As of filming, though, he's a free agent and would command at least probably $20 million on the open market. Now, Chris Godwin might be number 1 if he wasn't coming off another knee injury. This is a perennial 1,000-yard receiver who was on pace for it again until he ended up getting hurt. And that's always an issue more often than not. But I like what Chris Godwin offers. He's a very quality receiver. He's getting up there in age, but in this free agency class, he's kind of a no-doubt top 5 receiver. Number 4 is Khalil Mack, the Chargers edge rusher. Yeah, he's old. He might only have 1 or 2 years left, but he still gets sacks. He still gets productions, even coming off a down year. Would not be surprised to see Mack get some pretty big contract, at least for a short-term deal. Javon Holland probably lost himself some money this past offseason. He wasn't as good. He was awesome in 2023. I still think he's a really good safety, but the overall play, the impact, the production, even with some injuries the past few years, kind of gone the wrong way. But I think it's a very, very good safety. Maybe the market isn't as strong as he hopes. Somebody should pay him some good money. Number 2, then, is Devontae Adams, the Jets wide receiver. He wants to go out to the West Coast, sounds like. Maybe reuniting with Aaron Rodgers. Derek Carr is certainly an option. He is getting older. He still puts up 1,000 yards, even if he doesn't play all 17 games. That reliability, even at that age, carries tremendous value as far as I'm concerned. Number 1 is Sam Darnold, the Vikings quarterback. I am very curious what his market ends up looking like. It was great early in the year and then kind of faded down the stretch, which is a red flag for teams. I don't know if the Vikings will bring him back on a 1-year deal, if he can find the Baker Mayfield-esque contract he wants. But there are teams that need a quarterback in a not great QB class. Where Darnold goes will have a pretty massive impact on guys like Russell Wilson, but also the 2025 NFL Draft. What free agents did I leave off this top free agents list? You can drop that name for me in the comments section of today's show. Then I'll mention some names as well. A couple other free agents, 5 on offense, 5 on defense. As we sit here filming this, Tyler Lockett just got released by the Seahawks, so that's a possibility. Marquise Brown, the Chiefs receiver, always stands out. Justin Fields could find a starting job with a team. Maybe it's the Jets or Steelers or Dark Horse Titans. Offensive linemen, Will Fry, Stephen Jenkins, Mekhi Becton should get starting salaries and jobs somewhere. Defensively, I like Malcolm Koonce a lot, but he is coming off an injury, so that is a red flag. Nick Bolton, the linebacker, I am a fan of. We'll see what his market looks like. Rasul Douglas is an aging corner. Asante Samuel Jr. is a young one, but I've always liked his game coming out of Florida State. And the Cam Bynum had a nice little year at safety for Minnesota. A couple guys in that Bynum range of finally had that breakout year right as they get to free agency.